Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's FilmED webinar. My name is Andrea. I work at the Kino Usmev, which is one of the project partner organizations. But I'm not here today to talk about today's topic, which is accessibility in film education, though I'm here to introduce our guests who will. So it is my pleasure to welcome Barbora Andor Tóthová, also from Kino Usmev, Slovakia, and also our special guest, Geerinck from Zuid-Holland Filmhub. But before we start with the presentations, let's watch an introduction video about the project. Thank you for joining our FilmED showcase series, which explores innovative approaches to film education. Across 6 webinars, we dive into some of today's most exciting topics in the field. Each session is hosted by the authors of the FilmED website, the very people who piloted the activities in practice before sharing them on the platform. We've already been through 4 topics, and in today's 5th webinar, we will showcase inclusive approaches and film education activities for diverse learners.
I will now introduce the partners and the consortium of six partners that are the creators of FilmED. If you excuse me, I will read about the partners just for this time, not to forget about anything. So Goethe Institute in Prague is the project leader of the project, and it's a cultural bridge that fosters dialogue between Germany and the Czech Republic through film, art, and education. Its strong support for creative project makes it a valuable partner in nurturing international film collaboration. 𝗶𝗰𝗰𝗀𝘀𝗀 Film Center in Warsaw is named after legendary Polish filmmaker Andrzej Wajda. The center is dedicated to promoting film culture and education. The Wajda Film Center actively contributes to the development and dissemination of cinematic knowledge, offering a wide array of cultural and educational activities. The center's mission to foster a deep understanding of both contemporary and classic cinema. 𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 is an organization that through its venue Kino 𝗶𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 in Prague brings unique and independent films to Prague audiences. Their focus on community-driven cinema creates a vibrant meeting point for culture, education, and dialogue. Cinematheque of North Macedonia safeguards the nation's film heritage while introducing audiences to international works. It plays a central role in preserving memory and shaping future generations of film lovers. Kino Usmev in Košice, where I'm from, is my beloved cinema that combines tradition with a modern approach to film programming. It actively engages the community by offering screenings, discussions, and educational activities. And National Film Institute in Hungary supports the development, production, and promotion of Hungarian cinema. Its mission strengthens both national identity and international recognition of Hungarian film. And of course, it wouldn't be a successful project without people behind FilmED project. So from Goethe Institute, it's Teresa and Monica, Kasia, Monica, and Carolina from Andrzej Wajda Film Center, Adela from Crouton, Damiana from Kinoteca, Karin, my ex-colleague, who is responsible for the methodologies and activities of FilmED project from Kino Usmev, is not working with us anymore, but we are very happy that she developed all the content, and Łukasz, of course, from National Film Institute Hungary. During the project, since January 2024 until August 2025, we conducted over 253 training sessions with 3,084 participants that were aged 3 to 19, so wide age range, and over 554 educators worked with us. These numbers are rising because the activities are still being conducted. The important outcome of the project that will ensure its sustainability is a FilmED website, filmed.eu, which contains 3 main parts: activities, which are over 20 methodologies that our partners and us created for you, for educators, organizations, film professionals that want to work with film, either theoretically. So these are guidelines for activities about watching films, or practical, about filmmaking. You can find different tools, videos, and everything you need to know if you want to conduct these activities yourselves. Another part is how to start manual. It contains guides, tips, if you are not sure, or if you face any challenges, if you want to start your own activities. And quizzes, either for beginners or cinephiles, proficient cinephiles that want to test their knowledge about shots, about film styles, and of course, have fun. This is how it looks on our website. You can just dive in and explore the website yourself. It is in all 6 language versions.
So as for the plan of today's webinar, is it as follows. Every FilmED activity will take 10 minutes, and after every activity we will have 5 minutes-ish Q&A. At the end of our webinar, there will be even more space for your questions, also general to the project itself. You can ask questions and share comments by raising your hand or writing them in the chat, and I can read them out loud. And since we have you here, we would like to invite you to also participate in our next webinar that will be held on the 30th of October, which is next Thursday. And the topic is interdisciplinary film education. So thank you. And now we can proceed with our presentations. So you could hear her voice before during the introduction. So I'll introduce Barbora Andor Tóthová, who is the cultural manager, researcher, and co-founder of Kino Usmev. Barbora, the screen is yours.
I'm very happy that I can present today our film education practice in Kino Usmev. Kino Usmev is a community cinema that we launched in 2016 by saving abandoned building with friends. So it is really a bottom-up, a grassroots initiative, and we didn't even dream about having such an evolved film education program, because none of us are filmmakers, actually. And that is also maybe why our film education program is specific. Since 2019, since we launched it, thanks to an EEA funding that we got for 3 years, we put accessibility and inclusion in the center of the film education program and of our film school, in terms that it's not only open to diverse audiences, but inclusion is really deliberative. So we work on a mix of participants. We invite different NGOs from the city that take care of a variety of communities to participate and to invite their clients or people they work with. And we create a really diverse environment in order to create awareness, sensitivity, and to empower communities in our city. So this is in our DNA. And today I will talk about the film school itself, about inclusive summer film camp, and hopefully give you tips about maybe how to start if you are an equally bottom-up organization, and about our experiences with the FilmED project and accessibility manual that you can find on the website, and also maybe talk about challenges or failures that you can find on the way. As I mentioned, Film School 𝗶𝗃𝗀𝗃 started in 2019. It was really aimed at creating equal opportunities for kids or young people to fall in love with film. Because as we are a community cinema, we saw that since 2016, when we opened different NGOs, because they were our friends, or we live, 𝗶𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃 is not a big city, that they were coming to our cinema for film screenings and their own programs. People from different organizations with different disabilities, or neighborhoods, or organization that take care of immigrants in 𝗶𝗃𝗀𝗃, they would come and enjoy our cinema because they felt it was a safe space, because we always invited them to overtake the space and have their own programs. But then we were like, maybe it would be nice if they wouldn't come on their own in different times, but if we could really create an atmosphere where people connect, where they are seen in the space in the city, and to make them visible. And the film school was one of the tools how to empower young people to tell their stories the way they want to tell them. So the film school started as a yearly program of 2 classes a week, where half of the kids were from diverse backgrounds, and half of the kids were from regular backgrounds who paid for the film school, also for the kids that couldn't afford it. That's how we created a solidarity system, and we really worked towards creating more awareness and sensitivity in kids, but also their parents, relatives, and to create friendships. The methodology or the plan for the film school we co-created with the nonprofits and communities themselves. And we also, since the beginning, worked with assistants that were in the classes, working with the environment so that everyone feels welcome, safe, and heard. But of course, COVID came, so our film school had to stop functioning. And that's when we started inclusive summer camp, because we wanted to compensate for the lost classes, of course. That's how it started, but we already finished our 4th edition of summer camp. And I'm mentioning it because this was a truly learning activity, because it's an intense week where we, with the same model, half of kids from regular backgrounds and half of kids really from very diverse backgrounds, involving physical disabilities, mental disabilities, kids from our segregated Roma neighborhood in 𝗶𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀, from immigrant families, from families of Ukrainian refugees that we have in 𝗶𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀. They all together come for a week, and it creates an interesting environment full of learning opportunities, but also full of not only learning opportunities for kids themselves, but also for us. In the beginning, when we started, we really did it in a DIY kind of way. And we learned that the moments of rest, like relaxing games and not focus on a hardcore filmmaking process, makes the magic and makes the connection between kids. And of course, throughout the years, and especially I'm so happy that we are part of FilmED project, because we were able to create accessibility manual, and we always have it when we start our workshops. or any educational activity. So I really recommend you to check it out on the website, but I will talk about it on another slide in more detail. We also learned that if you start with accessible workshops, whatever kind of, it doesn't have to be film education, you shouldn't assume anything in the beginning. Maybe that's something obvious, but I would maybe say a concrete situation. We thought when we had the last edition of the summer camp that Ukrainian kids who already are in Slovak schools and understand fully Slovak, we consider them a regular as participants because they don't have any disability in terms of understanding or ability to learn or to make film. But we realized, of course, that this range and mix of kids and situation of stress, they react due to the war in their country very differently. But luckily, we had assistance in place from Ukraine. We always, each group and each specific group has their own assistant who can communicate very firsthand any issue or can talk with film lectors and resolve the issue before it even maybe happens, or if something happens, they can resolve it quickly. So I really recommend, if you plan any highly intensive activity like this, to have these assistants in place and plan the activity with them. So these are very quickly some lessons learned. And about the accessibility manual, in the FilmED project, we created 5 methodologies you can find on the website. And since the beginning, we were invited as a partner who does inclusive film education, and our job was to create accessibility manual. Our workshops for FilmED were co-created also with representatives of different NGOs, teachers from schools for kids with special needs, and film lectors together. So each methodology that we created was feedback by a focus group of people who know what is important if we want to make workshops accessible. And thanks to these conversations, we were able to and our experience during the years of film education that we do, we were able to create the manual. The authors, as I mentioned, were 𝗶ጵ 𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃, myself, Natalia Centková from Kino Usmev, and we were happy enough to have consultation from Peter Farbar and Evelyn from Filmhub. So thanks to everyone. And the accessibility manual contains general tips, how to start when you give out registration, what questions maybe to ask if you're planning an educational activity open to diverse communities, how to create a safe environment, what risks to think about in the beginning. These are really our practical maybe mistakes we did, so we learned from them. And you should also think about different scenarios that can happen and have it written down so you can react pretty quickly when they happened. Of course, it's quite important to maybe invite people who join your camp or workshop before to come to the place where it's taken place and so they can feel or see or know how to access the space before. And of course, there are different tips in the accessibility manual for adjustments for different needs. If you have people that are blind or vision impaired, or people with hearing impairments, physical disabilities, or sensory sensitive people, because these specific groups need specific maybe visual, maybe hearing, and maybe sensory aids that you can implement, and it's great if you are aware beforehand. Of course, inclusive language, that is quite a task, I think, nowadays, not only because it's very dynamic and it's changing a lot. It's always best if you ask people in the beginning of your educational activity how they want to be addressed and leave it up to their decision. Of course, you can include this section in your registration form, and of course, a language is very different in each country and each language. So these are just tips in English, but of course, you have your own experience with your own language. How to start? In terms of my tips, if you want to do inclusive workshops, if you want to work with NGOs as we did to make it a community activity, understand local needs. What is the goal of your educational activity? Is it to really teach someone how to make a short film, or is the goal actually to create more awareness or sensitivity? Because based on the goal and your own aim, the process of creating the program and the process itself changes a lot. So this is the first, and of course, ask for feedback on your program. The worst is to think that we know because we don't, and to ask NGOs, families, and participants themselves. Always have professional assistants on board, social workers, teachers from schools with special needs. And don't be afraid of disappointment and failures because there can be also a tension. We also had situations where stereotypes, and especially kids, as they are more open and more verbal or dynamic, they can say things that you have to moderate afterwards, and maybe you feel like it was not as dreamy. But I think at the end of the process, if you are aware of all the risks and if you have the support in place, it always pays off. So have a detailed plan, but give space for rest and improvisation. This is just for encouragement. Creating a safe and welcoming environment often makes up for a small failures that always arise in challenging projects, such as truly inclusive workshops. Reward is in the process, connection, fun, and I put here a print screen from our summer camp, where our participant who has a walking disability and cannot run very fast said that his favorite film is Sonic, the Hedgehog Sonic, which is really fast, who is really fast. So we made him in the video very, very fast, and he became the character he always wanted to be. And we created a world for him where he's the fastest person in the world. So these are the moments of reward and fun, and when everyone's happy, that's always the best, right? So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation.
Thank you, Barbara. I can say that you can learn a lot about, from the accessibility manual. So you can find it on the website and start with your own activities. I have a question for you. As a part of for example, the film camp for kids and also other inclusive activities, one of the most important part is the close and specific communication with the participants and collecting feedback from them. But working with kids, it is also important to talk to their parents about any issues that their kids could encounter. So do you have any structured system for collecting feedback from the parents, or does it come organically just by being with them, communicating with them on a daily basis?
We ask them personally. We always have a final event of the big premiere, and I try to catch up with parents. It's not always working, of course, but there are also, of course, kids that are coming back. So with some parents, we have personal relationships, but then we send a feedback questionnaire survey, very, very short survey. Usually parents are busy, so they don't like surveys, but we have some results from that. This year we also collected quotes from kids. And of course, with kids, we also some years, based on the funding, we also had a documentary about the process, a video documentary where kids were interviewing themselves and asking about the summer camp, how they felt. So that was also nice.
When I was reading the accessibility manual, I found a quote that you used, which was, "Fortune favors the prepared mind." And as you mentioned, it is important to be prepared and to not to expect that anything goes smoothly. But what would you recommend to those educators and institutions that want to start with inclusive activities, or they want to improve the accessibility? Is there any first step that you can do to feel prepared?
To read the accessibility manual, of course, from the FilmED website. No, that's actually, I'm so happy. I don't want to brag about it, but I'm so happy that it exists because we didn't have it when we started. So it was really like a trial error, sometimes, a very complicated process. But now so anyone who wants to start can just read it and have tips for the beginning. But also maybe the courage is important, and not to be discouraged by, I don't know, funding, lack of funding, or lack of capacities. The non-profits and NGOs who we work with, they really provide volunteers. They really want to create opportunities for youth and kids they work with. So I think it is possible just by asking and trying to find partnerships.
Okay, we have a question from Teresa. So I am curious about how it works when there are kids with various kinds of disabilities. At the same time, how do you manage to work it out in a group? Do you also include in such workshops kids that are lucky enough and don't have such impairments? And last thing, if I want to start with the inclusive workshops, what kind of difficulty is easier to work with, and which is the most difficult?
Maybe it would be possible to make workshops just for kids from that have disability or are from challenging backgrounds, but our aim was to mix regular kids with kids from a variety of backgrounds and have maybe disabilities. So we always create a mix, and it's always at least half to half. The only time it was not half to half was when I mentioned that we have this small failure, that we thought that we can consider Ukrainian kids as regular kids just because they don't have a problem with understanding and following learning process. So we always mix, and we prepare. We work out the program with assistants that will be there beforehand. It's months of preparations and discussions. We also have assistants that already work with us on summer camp, so they know what to do. And really, we are very lucky that teachers from schools with special needs work with us, and they can catch. We have kids that apply. We also had this thing when parents apply kids and don't say in the registration form that they have some kind of challenge, for example, Asperger, because they're not diagnosed. But thanks to, luckily, we have the teachers, always some teachers from schools with special needs that can capture this by the end of the first day. And they say, okay, so yeah, you know this. And so we have to manage, for example, the lunch, because we understand that he or she cannot sit here, or, they can already start working with a new situation. And of course, tension happens sometimes, or situations, but I think it's in every camp, summer camp, or this intense process where you can find conflicts, you can find misunderstandings, but to work it out always and to really create a lot of relaxed moments is very important for them not to be overwhelmed. The second question was if there is difficulty, yeah. I found personally that working with kids and young people from segregated Roma community in Košice is the most difficult, not because they are difficult or something like that, but because of so many barriers they have to overcome to come. And it's so intense also for us and for assistants to only like take them either by car or they have to go by bus. So just the logistics are so complicated. And then they are not used to having like understanding nice environments, like they are shy and they need a few days to adjust. You can see that the segregation, what happens when you have a very badly segregated neighborhood in 21st century, and that is very, very bad in general. And to really make a meaningful week for them, it's very demanding for the staff especially. But it's also very rewarding, of course, at the end. But this is probably the most difficult. And when we did the film school and they had regular classes every week, we had to go by car, look for them in the neighborhood, take them, then go back. It's like logistically really, really hard. So yes, not good example for Košice that we have such neighborhood.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions? Now we can move to second presentation. Thank you, Barbora. I will introduce our special guest, 𝗶𝗽𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃, and I say special guest because she is from Zuid-Holland Filmhub, as I mentioned. This organization supports FilmED as a member of the project's curatorial and advisory board. 𝗶𝗽 has been working as a consultant at the Filmhub, which advises, supports, and inspires educational organizations, schools, and teachers in the field of film education. So you have the floor, 𝗶𝗽.
Thank you so much, Andrea. And also, thank you, Barbora. I thought it was a very interesting project that you're doing. Yeah, it was really interesting to hear more about it. We don't have such a thing, I think, in the Netherlands. But I'm going to talk about what we do have in the Netherlands. So indeed, my name is 𝗶𝗽𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃. I work for Filmhub Zuid-Holland. And a bit about myself. I'm a teacher of Dutch and English, and Dutch as a foreign language. And now I'm a consultant film education, which I had never dreamed of or thought that it was an actual job, but here I am. And I'm going to talk about the film education in special needs schools. Before I do that, I want to start with a quote that is by Carlos Sterke. He's a media teacher in our network, and he was part of the research group, which I will talk about later. And he says whether they attend mainstream high school or special needs school, all students are potential filmmakers. They each have something valuable to say and differ only in their creative approaches and chosen narrative methods. So I think it's a very important thing to address that everyone has a story, but the ways we tell it is sometimes different. And I think it's part of our job as cultural mediators or developers of educational programs to help the children to tell their story. And I think that film education is a very good way to do that. And I'll tell you a bit more about that later. So the contents here, I'm going to tell you something more about Filmhub Zuid-Holland in a nutshell. Then I'm going to tell you something about the research group. We created the methodology of film education for special needs schools. And we're going to touch upon the importance of film education. I don't have a lot of time, so I'll just name a few things why we think it's such an important thing in their education. And then lastly, and we do have some similarities with Barbora's presentation, but I think that's a good thing, how to make film education accessible for all. And then there's some room for questions, of course. So what is Filmhub Zuid-Holland is here in the south of Holland. And what we do is we're a film education center, and we work with regional and national partners to get more film education into the curriculum in the Netherlands. So we connect film education providers and schools to each other. We educate professionals in the sector. So we give trainings about film education, but also film education for special needs schools, etc. And we carry out research and publish our findings. And that's what we did also in 2021. Because in 2021, I wasn't working for Filmhub, but my colleagues and also people in the field noticed that, the materials for film education, the educational materials or programs weren't really suited for special needs schools. And that is actually why they wanted to start a research group to get more insight into the educational needs for the children with special needs and collect the possibilities to provide film education for this target group. So to do this, they brought together a few people. You see them here. A research group, a focus group, whatever you want to call it. And you see my colleague here, Audrey. She coordinated the research group, and they asked themselves the question, well, how do we provide insight into these special needs schools for people in our network? And how can we map the conditions for a sustainable and inclusive film education with a focus on the students in special education clusters 3 and 4? And I don't really know how you guys in each country, it's probably different, but the target audience for this research group were primary and secondary special needs schools. And you have cluster 3, which are pupils with a physical and/or mental disability, and cluster 4, pupils with a behavioral and emotional disorder. So these are the target audiences. Of course, you also have children in cluster 1 who can't, who have hearing disabilities, and cluster 2, which have problems with seeing and being blind. But the focus was on these cluster 3 and 4. That's good for you guys to know. And the participants of the research group were educators, special needs teachers, a filmmaker, a film teacher, and intermediaries in art education. So what they did was come together over the course of 3 years, if I'm all right. My screen is in front of it. 2 years over the course of 2021 and 2023. And they made they made programs that were tailor-made for the target groups, and then they wrote down their findings in an inspirational document. At least we think it's inspirational, which is called the methodology, or you can call it a methodology. And we wanted to share that with the people in the field of film education, but also for educators. So it was written for teachers, cultural mediators, and service providers. So that means the people who develop the programs, the film festivals, etc. And the goal of the methodology is to make film education accessible to students with special needs, of course. So yeah, this is it right here. Can you see it? You probably can. It's written in Dutch, so you can't read it, which is a shame. So I hope I'm going to give insight into this methodology or publication in this presentation. So I can also share the presentation with you guys if you want to, so you can read what I've written down about it. So I'm going to go on, because why is film education so important? I do want to stress a few things. A few things are pretty interesting. So film education or filmmaking is a collaborative process. So you need different kinds of talents to get to a film. And that is why film education is such a good medium for special needs schooling, because you have such diverse children and with many talents and different kinds of talents. So you can, this is one of the reasons why film education is such a good method. I also think that it's a creative outlet, which is very important. It's a self-confidence boost. So you help them overcome limitations. Film education is for many teachers something new. We discovered that a lot of teachers are comfortable with, for example, drawing or painting, but film education is still, and you guys know this, still sometimes difficult to start with, or there's not enough self-confidence for teachers to start with film education. So the children actually don't really have the chance to explore this. On the other hand, children do have a lot of images around them and know how to handle a phone and a camera. Also, children in special needs schools. So to stimulate that, you can give them a self-confidence boost. You can overcome limitations. In watching movies or films, that's the other way. You present them with different perspectives, new ways of thinking. You give them a new view on the world, different cultures. So it's a way of bringing the world into the classroom. And also for children with special needs, this is very important. Lastly, it's a collaborative process, so they have to work together. And this is also one of the main goals in, or one of the many goals in special needs education, that they improve social skills. And I think film education is a very good way to do that. I'm going to show you briefly what they made. So I'm going to show you 3 tailor-made programs. The first one the project was called Saying Goodbye to Mr. Schatz. It was an activity in which children made, or pupils made, a screening of a television program. They made a television program and they screened the television program. The themes there were creativity, showing who you are, online media and media literacy, and self-reliance. So it took 7 lessons, and the pupils had to, film themselves, film their interests, but also make sure that they had to conduct interviews. They had to make sure that the interviews were taking place at a certain location, and they were responsible for booking the location. So all these different things that also require a lot of planning help them to rely on themselves and to be more self-confident, also about getting things done. That's also a part of film education, of course. A second one was made in collaboration with IFFR, in which they visited, so a cluster 3 class visited a film theater, and they watched short films about shapes and colors, and they had a conversation about it. It was a first visit to the movie theater. As you see, this is an amazing photo, I think. The boy is so happy. And that's usually what you do it for. I hear Barbora also saying, well, the way that you see things existing and the fun is the most important thing in these kinds of activities. And so the duration was 1 lesson, but then you also had the preparation days in class. So that was a program they did. They also, in collaboration with Art School, which is an organization who also works in certain neighborhoods with children that usually don't have a lot of access to art education. They did a project Who's Living in That House, and they created a stop-motion animated film together. This was also cluster 3, and was 4 lessons in a school. So they did these things and they discovered, well, these things work, these things don't, and they wrote them down. And I took them apart, and it's also on the website of FilmED, how to do like film education for special needs children in two parts. So first, I'm going to talk about how to develop it and teach a program for pupils with special needs. And the second one is about accessibility outside and inside the classroom. So how to develop and teach a program. First, I want to dive into the preparation. And this is generally for cluster 3 and 4. So I'm speaking really in general terms here. But still, I have a few points that might come in handy when preparing for teaching and developing a program. So ideally, you tailor the program to fit the needs of a specific class and a specific group. I know this is not always possible because of time-wise, but still it's important to see what the specific group needs and tailor-make your program to fit the needs. So that's first. Then the clarity and room for modifications. By clarity, we mean that you have to be very precise on what you want to do in the workshop or in the program. So you have to be very sure. Preparation is a very important thing. But at the same time, you have to leave room for some modifications because you are usually in classrooms who are very diverse. So you might have to come up with easier task and then a more difficult one, or you might want to think about what if the class gets really rowdy or very noisy. What else can I do? But you have to think about that beforehand and not just wing it. I'm a big fan of winging things, but you have to make sure that you're prepared. So you also have to comply with the physical and mental abilities. Make sure it's not too difficult. That's an easy one, but yeah, you have to think about easy tasks who are not physically and mentally very demanding. That's the thing you have to take in mind, of course. You have to allow students to move around freely because sometimes they need to do that, and consider the length, pace, and the break schedule beforehand. So make sure you have lots of breaks. You make sure you don't go too quickly. So consider also the pace and the length. Don't make the workshop too long, because lots of times with children with special needs, it's difficult or more demanding to focus for a long time. So that's the preparation. Now you're developing or implementing the workshop in class. What do you do? What is important to take in mind? Well, the first thing I have to stress is that the primary goal is a positive development of students. So if you're thinking of making a film, it's the same thing with Barbara also mentioned it, that you have to look at what is your goal. So usually the goal is not to make a fantastic movie in which all the different elements were included. A good goal, the primary goal, is that there's some development in the children, each at their own stage of learning. In that, also in the classroom, be generous with praise. These children need a lot of praise to get on with what they're doing. It's important that they're motivated, and even for the smallest things, give them praise. This is something also that you have to do when teaching to regular children, I believe. But take that in mind. Don't be overly strict about participation. If somebody needs a timeout, that's okay. Don't force silence or keeping seated. Sometimes children need to be verbally or need to express themselves verbally or physically because they can't put it into words. So don't force that. And discuss what the acceptable noise levels with the class teacher. So I can imagine if you're a guest teacher, you don't know this class, you don't really know what the noise level or which noise level is normal. So discuss and always work together with somebody who knows the class, who knows the children. This is something very important. And then, of course, at the end of the program, you have to do an evaluation. So you can ask questions. What did the group learn? Which emotions did they feel? What was successful? What can we do differently next time? Always ask, always learn from what you're doing. A tip can be if you have a group that has difficulties expressing themselves, you can use emotion cards with very simple with a smiley and what's the other one? A downy, I don't know. But a saddie. But use emotion cards to help the children and visualize some emotions. I think I'm already touching the 10 minutes, but still I'm going to go on. The accessibility, these are the last two slides I want to get to. Accessibility for all. What if you're doing a program at school? It's important to find out what the specific accessibility needs for each school are. So you can find out by collecting information through a form that you send beforehand. Provide your teaching materials ahead of time. If you take, for example, the IFFR screening, they made sure that the children knew what was going to happen. They already sent some of the videos to the classes, so they could already watch the videos, causing that they weren't too overwhelmed when they got there. Repetition is very important and not at all, or I think for lots of children in special needs schools, not boring, let's say boring. It's a good way to prepare them for what is coming. Also be precise in program descriptions. Make sure you tell them all about what is going to happen and the details of it too. I have to look, make sure I don't forget anything. Yeah. Then the transport and parking, make sure, no, programs outside schools. So if you talk about cinemas, mind the accessibility requirements. Some cinemas have ample space to put children in wheelchairs. Some cinemas don't. So mind those accessibilities. Not only for wheelchairs, but children with special needs in general. Really ask the school, okay, what are the accessibility requirements, and is my cinema equipped for that? What can we do to help? And specify the potential issues. So if you have a door that doesn't open automatically, or if you have a very busy cafe that the children need to go through, specify that so the teachers can prepare the children for it. Then make sure there's parking availability for larger vehicles, because lots of times schools bring their own vehicles to get to the activity. So it's important that they can park. And then the last slide is about the venue. So the venue, and this was also something very new for me, and also something that the Netherlands is doing actively, or in film education, is providing low stimulation spaces. So it's not only in cinemas, but also in workshop spaces. For some children, it can be very pleasant to have a low sensory space that doesn't have really bright lights or very bright colors on the wall, or a background music playing in the background. So it could be very it puts them in ease when there's a low stimulation place in which they can come or relax. So if you don't have that, maybe there's a smaller room where you can put someone who's overwhelmed. That's also something you can think about. And some theaters even have photographs of their venue that they send to some of the schools, or walkthrough video even of the venue. So you prepare you prepare the children. Then work with visual help. So photo cards, use photo cards in your workshops or programs to explain new or abstract concepts, like, for example, nature or the emotions. So visual help is always welcome. And then you have multiple teaching options to accommodate to the skill differences of the pupils, and try to provide different materials when doing a workshop. So if you're doing something with, some children are better with their hands, others are handier with a camera. Make sure that you provide different materials for a workshop so you can work with the skill differences. And then, of course, you have to select films if it's about watching films and doing this kind of film education. Films that are suitable. Sometimes that means there's minimal or no dialogue, and you can find those films. And this is something I hope I can share it. I don't know if you guys know this site. It's the site of Network Film Education. It's a database in which you find all kinds of movies with lessons, of course, unfortunately, in Dutch. But it can be interesting because here, if you select special education, you find some examples of films that can be suitable.
Thank you, Faye, for your presentation, and I can assure you that it was, as you have hoped, inspirational. Would you say that the methodology that you presented, or part of it, is, if translated from Dutch, of course, internationally or generally applicable?
That's a good question. I think in general, it can be very, it is international. So of course, it's based on the Dutch context.
Okay, I feel like one of the biggest issue in this area is the misconception that the film can only be considered tool for entertainment and not education. At least from my experience. So would you say it is similar in Netherlands?
I think that yes, it's very similar in the Netherlands. Usually when you talk to teachers about film education and you explain what it is, they understand suddenly why it's such a good tool or such a good way of doing or another way to express or another form of art and a form of art education. And sometimes they're almost relieved or happy to learn that it's also a form of art and not mere entertainment. But sometimes they're surprised about it. And we usually see that they implement film in a break, for example, or during lunch, or to keep them busy. But we actually, and as you do, of course, want to stimulate watching a film and talking about the film and actually making a film. It's a new world for a lot of teachers, but also a very exciting one, I think, in my opinion, of course.
Right. Do we have any questions?
I wanted to ask about your personal journey. You said you're a teacher and now a consultant. is it so that you maybe also as a teacher started incorporating film in your classes, or you do it as a separate thing, more focused on consultation for the teachers that take care of kids with special needs?
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, it's actually, I don't teach at this moment. Maybe I didn't clarify, but I'm actually not from the Netherlands. I'm Belgian, and I was living in Belgium 2 years ago, and I was a teacher there. And then I moved to the Netherlands, and I love teaching. My heart is in education. But I'd been teaching for a while, and I wanted to do something in the cultural field. And the Film Hub was actually where my interest in film and in art and in the cultural came together with education. So I was very lucky this came to be and was there because it combines my two favorite things. And I'm sure if I go back to teaching, I will implement film more because I used to do this, but not in such. I have so many more ideas to do it, of course, now. But yeah, that's how it came to be. Yeah, and actually, my background is not really in special education. It is more in education for Dutch as a foreign language as well. And that's maybe interesting to tell you as well that I've written a similar methodology, but for applying film in education for newcomers, such as you do with Ukrainian children. So this also gives you other challenges that you need to take into account. So we wrote another methodology to address that. Unfortunately, it's also in Dutch, but if you're organizing a seminar about that subject, I'd be happy to come and do another presentation about it. So yeah.
Thank you.
So we have it all connected. We could see examples how film and film education can connect the school system, the educators, consultants, and cinema and other cultural venues. So the circle is complete, and we can happily conclude our session if there aren't any questions. So thank you. Thank you very much, Faye and Barbora, for your showcase and for your experiences, and hopefully we'll join the last webinar that will be next week on the 30th of October.